So this is going to be a little bit different video than I normally do. So I was at a tournament this weekend, coaching my team. I coach 8th graders. And so it's our last game of the day, and I'm waiting for the game to start. So I sit down and watch the game right before us. I believe it was like a group of 6th graders. So this group of 6th graders is about to start. The game is about to start. And when I say from the jump, I mean literally from the time the jump ball happened, these parents were out of control. Okay. Now, first of all, I also ref at times. So sometimes I ref, which I advise to anyone getting into coaching. I advise every person, there's three sides, there's three ways to see a game: from the ref's perspective, from the coach's perspective, and from a parent's perspective, and from a player's perspective. Those are the four ways you can kind of view the game. And if you have an opportunity to view the game from all four, I really think you should, because it's just going to help you appreciate the game a lot more. And so I actually knew the two refs who were refing the game. I've actually refed with them before. And they're good guys. Like, they do a decent job. Obviously not the greatest in the world, but hey, they're decent. You know, they're not gonna they're not bad, right? I've had very bad refs, but these guys were good, and they have been refing for a long time. But of course, these parents had a problem with every single thing. They had a problem with calls. They had a problem with non-calls. Okay? And here's the worst part, right? Here's the worst part. The refs had nothing to do with it. The other team was just better than their kids. Or you could tell from the jump that this was one of those teams where the parents paid a lot of money. Like, it is like your prototypical bad AAU team, right? So all the kids have like really nice jerseys. The parents have like hoodies with their kid's name and number on them. And, you know, the coach is like not really a coach. He's some guy who played, you know, basketball at some point, and apparently he knows what he's talking about. When in reality, he has no idea what he's talking about, right? His way of coaching is like, why didn't you rebound the ball? It's like, you idiot. It's not like the kids are going out there and not trying to rebound the basketball, but this is how he coaches, right? And the whole time the parents are screaming. So first they started yelling at their kids. And they yell what parents do, right? What parents yell, which is, why are you guys messing up? I'm just, and I didn't know this, but I was actually sitting like in the middle of it. Like before the game started, I just took my seat. I just so happened to sit in the part of the stands that had this group of parents. And from the start of the game, you know, they just, why are you guys messing up? Stop turning over the ball. And when I say like anger and yelling and frustration on these parents, like it was ridiculous. And again, it's the prototypical youth AAU team. They got one kid who is like freakishly tall. So he's in 6th grade, but he's like 6'2". And he was actually pretty good for his age, right? He was good for his age. You know, they got one little, little guard who's little, but who's kind of shifty, but dribbles a lot, but doesn't really go anywhere. So he's not really a threat, you know. And then a bunch of other people on their team who can, I guess they shoot a lot because, you know, that's why they get on these teams, so they can shoot and get points, right? And so the other team, which was smaller than them, they were just better coached. Like, you could just tell one team understood the game of basketball, and one team was just used to being physically just more dominant than the other teams that they faced. And the team that's used to being more physically dominant just ran into a team that was better than them and was more poised than them and had more discipline than them, because their coach actually coached. Now, I thought that coach was a good coach. He was a little bit on the angry side, but he was effective, right? He didn't go over the top. He just really believed in his kids. I believe this was like the championship round. But these parents were just out of control. So first they're yelling at their kids. Why are you messing up? Stop turning the ball over. What is wrong with, like, literally, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, what is wrong with you? I'm like, you moron, this is your kid. Whatever's wrong with them is on you. Like, you messed that kid up. Like, but that's how these guys parent and coach from the stands, apparently, right? So then, after, halfway through the first half, their team is getting beat. They can barely score, right? The score is like 20-6, and they can't even get a shot up. They're turning the ball over. And of course, when teams are frustrated, when they're, getting beat and they were expecting to win, what do? They get a little bit sloppy. And so they start fouling, right? And so they start fouling them, right, a lot. And so the fouls are getting a little lopsided. And so, of course, the parents are upset about that too, right? And so it got so bad that one of the refs had to stop the game and just about kick the parent out. He probably should have just kicked the parent out, right? But, he didn't. But he had to stop the game for a second and really talk to this parent because they were just going off. And I'm sitting there quiet. And mind you now, I'm in the middle of their section. I'm not off to the side. Literally, the lady next to me is screaming at her son. The lady next to her is screaming at her son. And the other lady to my right side is screaming at her son. And then you got a dad down there on the end, right, who's standing up, pacing back and forth, mad at everybody, right? And it was because their team was getting beat. The other team was just better than the team that was losing. But it made me think about this, and it's something that we've talked about, and one of the issues we brought up in the AAU league is just these trash parents. The reality is, your kids got beat by a team that was just better at basketball, and that's why they got blown out. My team gets blown out, and I'm not upset because for the most part, the guys that I'm coaching are still learning the game of basketball. These are kids who are playing basketball for the first time. So, of course, if we go up against an AAU team that's been together for 4 years and has 4 coaches and is sponsored, we're going to get blown out by 70. And that's happened to me. We've gotten last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, we were getting beat by 70 points. But that's what's going to happen. My kids are learning how to do a jump stop properly, and this kid probably should be playing for, the school or whatever. But anyway, I'm just man, these parents are ridiculous. Now, I'm very fortunate. I've never had an issue with parent. I had one parent a few years ago, but even then we talked it out. It was good. But I think part of it is because when a coach is not doing their job, I think the parents get out of control. So this coach the parents were following the lead of the coach. Like I said, the coach, the way he coached was, why are you not rebounding? Stop messing up. It's are you dense? Do you think these little 11 and 12-year-olds are going out here trying to purposely mess up? Have you never been 11 or 12 years old in your life? It's ridiculous. It's totally dumb. It's totally you suck at coaching. The other coach is better than you at coaching. And this is why your team is getting drilled. You can't just throw it down to your 6'2" player because they know how to guard people who are taller than them. Right? They have a kid who is athletic, and so he's going to get all up in the guy, make him dribble. He can't dribble. He's going to steal the ball, go down the court for an easy layup. It's that simple. This is why you were getting drilled. This is why when you face a team that actually has skill, where coaches actually teach fundamentals, your kid loses. This is it. It's because your coach is trash, and then as a parent, you're trash too. I have just a philosophy as a coach that negative reinforcement and punishment does not work as well as positive reinforcement and instruction. And if coaches could just learn, instead of saying, hey, why aren't you rebounding? to take it a step further and go, hey, when that shot goes up, you got to turn, find your man, put a body on him, and then go attack the ball. That works a lot more. That's measurable action. That's definitive action a player can take to get better. But when the coach is not doing that, it gives the parents a license just to have like no class. And these parents had zero class. They were cussing up a storm at the kids on the court. And it was just like ridiculous. The other parents from the other team were like, they were kind of silent the whole time because they were like, what is going on here? But I look at parents like that and just go, look, your kid is trash. Like, your kid can't play basketball. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Your kid is not that good at basketball. That team is not that good at basketball. You guys have an abnormally tall 6th grader on your team that you can take advantage of people. That's it. Most 6th graders are uncoordinated because they just hit puberty, and so they're trying to figure out their bodies, which I totally understand. And a lot of them are playing basketball for the first time or second time, and I know your kid has been the next Michael Jordan since the 3rd grade, but the reality is he's trash. And as a coach, I don't have a problem telling kids that they're bad at basketball. Look, I tell the kids I coach that the whole purpose of me coaching is to take bad players at basketball and make them good. So yes, of course you made mistakes out there on the court. Of course you did something wrong. Good. Now I have something to do. Now I don't sit on my phone and play games on my phone all game long. Like I can actually coach you. If you were good, you wouldn't need me. Like, so I don't have a problem telling kids. Now, I'll probably never personally tell a kid that they're trash, right? But I tell my kids all the time, like, dude, you're not good. You're not a good shooter. I'll look my kid dead in the eye and say, dude, you're not a good shooter. And here's why you're not a good shooter. How often do you practice your form? Not really. Well, that's why you're not a good shooter. But the problem is these parents and these kids have never been told, dude, you're just not good at basketball. The coach does not know how to coach. Your kid doesn't know. Your kid can only dribble with his right hand. And as soon as the other team figured it out, that's what happened. They just made him go left. He turned it over every time, and they got a fast break layup. Your kid is trash. And the reason why your kid is trash is because you've been like hyping his head up since he was 2 in the 2nd grade. And so you got the kid thinking like he's hot stuff. No. They just play trash competition. They blow him out by 40. You think your kid is good. And then they run into a real team. And then they get the brakes beat off of them. And now you're mad at everybody in the world. Like, goodness. Like, it's ridiculous. This is why people don't like AAU basketball. This is why guys like Kobe Bryant, other people think AAU basketball is trash. And it has a lot to do with the parents. And so, my message is like, dude, your kid is trash. But I literally had a parent who was upset. This was when I coached back in high school. Who was upset that I wasn't giving his kid more playing time. And I just kind of had to have a conversation like, hey, the other girls on the team are just better. Here are some ways she can earn more playing time. But a lot of these parents haven't had a real conversation with a real coach. They just be like, your kid is bad because you have him shooting 25-foot jump shots in the 6th grade, but he can't dribble with his left hand. He can't jump stop. His defense sucks. He hunches over when he plays defense. He plays defense with his hands. Doesn't know how to box out. You just want him to take 25-foot jumpers and drive the basketball. He's a terrible teammate. He can't pass the ball. Like, we need more coaches in basketball who are just willing to tell parents the truth. Your kid is trash, and it's your fault. And please, for the love of God, have some class at some of these basketball games. That's my little rant for today. Like it if you like it. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Number 4. Get the wheels on the bus.